Kevin Stefanski on the clock. Shedeur Sanders' rise and injury sends shockwaves through Browns' QB battle. The NFL preseason hasn't even kicked off, but one storyline is already boiling over in Cleveland: the quarterback room drama. At the heart of it is none other than rookie Shedeur Sanders, a fifth-round pick who wasn't supposed to matter until he started outperforming everyone ahead of him. The Browns' quarterback competition, once assumed to be a formality featuring veterans Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett, with rookie Dillon Gabriel battling for a backup spot, has turned into a headline-grabbing soap opera. The twist? Sanders is the breakout star, and now his sudden shoulder injury has thrown the entire situation into chaos. But let's rewind for a moment, because what's unfolding at Browns training camp isn't just about one rookie trying to earn a spot. It's about a young quarterback quietly rewriting a script that many assumed had already been finalized. A draft pick everyone overlooked. When the Cleveland Browns selected Shedeur Sanders with the 144th overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, many analysts labeled it a developmental project, a token pick, a long shot. After all, Shedeur fell from a projected first-rounder to day 3, largely due to pre-draft narratives about his attitude, his business-minded approach, and being the son of Coach Prime Deion Sanders. He entered camp as QB4, buried beneath veterans and a rookie selected 2 rounds ahead of him. The unspoken rule? Stay quiet, develop, and maybe you'll get a few reps before we stash you on the practice squad. But Shedeur had other plans. Quietly outperforming everyone. 9 days into training camp, Shedeur Sanders isn't just making noise. He's statistically outperforming every other quarterback on the Browns roster. According to insiders and stats tracked by team media, 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, second fewest pass attempts, completion percentage, better than Flacco, 58.7%, better than Pickett, 67.6%, and miles ahead of Gabriel, 54.9%. That's not a fluke. That's efficiency with limited reps. That's poise, patience, and precision. And that's not what anyone expected from the guy labeled as a long-term project. In a recent podcast episode by 92.3 The Fan, the hosts summarized the sentiment brewing in Berea. Things get so loud if Sanders outperforms Dillon Gabriel, which is what everyone is expecting to happen because the ceiling is higher for Shedeur. Dillon Gabriel has been that bad on the practice field. It's been a disaster this week. Disaster isn't hyperbole. Gabriel, the presumed QB3, went 3 for 14 with a pick on Friday and followed that with a 1-for-6 showing on Saturday. Meanwhile, Sanders? Smooth, consistent, and still climbing. Coach speak and reality. Kevin Stefanski's dilemma. Head coach Kevin Stefanski has remained predictably reserved about Sanders' rise. When asked about the rookie's performance, Stefanski said, "He's working extremely hard, still installing the stuff." Translation: the team's trying to temper expectations. But anyone watching practice sees the truth. Sanders is not just learning, he's thriving. He looks the part, throws like a seasoned pro, and commands the huddle with maturity beyond his years. Insiders have begun questioning whether Stefanski can afford to keep Sanders buried on the depth chart much longer, especially with the veterans ahead of him underperforming or injured. Then came the setback. Shoulder soreness sparks panic. Just as Sanders' stock was soaring, the Browns dropped a bombshell. He was being held out of team drills due to arm soreness. At first, it seemed minor, just precautionary. But whispers around the team suggest it might be more serious than initially reported. Most telling? Shedeur self-reported the issue. In a league where rookies often hide injuries to secure reps, Shedeur's move revealed both maturity and honesty. But it came at a cost. The timing couldn't be worse. With Pickett sidelined by a hamstring injury, Gabriel floundering, and Flacco showing age-related decline, this was Shedeur's window to establish himself as QB2, or even QB1 if Flacco truly is on his last legs. Now, he's missing critical live reps in what's arguably the most pivotal week of camp. Browns legend weighs in. Even Bernie Kosar, legendary Browns quarterback and current team advisor, weighed in on Sanders' situation. While he praised the rookie's calm demeanor and polish, he urged caution. "We kill more QBs by forcing them in too soon," Kozar said, referring to the NFL's history of prematurely thrusting rookies into high-pressure roles before they're ready. Still, Kozar couldn't help but admire Shedeur's traits, calling him poised under pressure. He's not rattled. He's seeing the field well. The talent is obvious. A sudden shift in the QB room, with Sanders sidelined and Pickett still recovering. The Browns' quarterback depth chart is looking paper-thin. That leaves the veteran Joe Flacco and the struggling Dillon Gabriel as the last men standing heading into the August 8th preseason opener. What could have been a breakout moment for Shedeur is now a moment of doubt. Momentum is everything in camp, and a few missed practices can be the difference between making the active roster or becoming an inactive backup. Sanders was on fire, but now he has to battle through a setback while trying to keep his name in the conversation. Is the developmental label just a cover? Throughout camp, the Browns have tried to manage expectations around Sanders by repeatedly calling him a developmental quarterback. But based on camp performance, that label feels more like a shield than an honest evaluation. Why? He has the highest ceiling among rookies in the room. He's bigger, faster, and stronger than most expected. He's learning the system quickly and executing with precision. So what's the holdup? Politics? Draft hierarchy? The Browns' unwillingness to admit that their fifth-rounder is outperforming their third-rounder? Whatever the reason, it's becoming harder to justify the narrative that Sanders isn't ready. Browns fans starting to demand answers. Across social media, Browns fans are no longer whispering. They're shouting. Why is Shedeur not getting more reps? Flacco looks cooked. Let the kid play. Gabriel can't hit a target. What are we doing? There's a growing section of the dog pound that believes Sanders deserves a Real shot. Not just as a depth piece, but as a legitimate contender for QB2. What happens next? With just 4 days until the Browns' first preseason game, Stefanski and his staff are at a crossroads. Do they rest Sanders further to ensure long-term health, risking his momentum? Do they reintroduce him cautiously and risk a partial performance? Or do they fully commit to giving him starter-level snaps if Pickett's injury lingers? The outcome of this week's practices could determine Sanders' trajectory not just for this season, but for his entire NFL career. Final thoughts. A star held back or a rookie patiently building? No matter how you spin it, Shedeur Sanders is the biggest wild card in Cleveland's QB room. He wasn't supposed to challenge for a starting role, but he's done just that. He's white heavy checkmark outplayed 2 veterans. White heavy checkmark earned praise from teammates and legends. White heavy checkmark shown elite efficiency with limited reps. White heavy checkmark handled his injury with maturity. And now, the spotlight shifts to Stefanski. Because while the Browns have been trying to stick to their plan, the plan might no longer fit the player. The injury may have slowed the hype temporarily, but it hasn't killed it. If anything, it's only intensified the mystery. Just how good is Shedeur Sanders? And how long will the Browns wait to find out? Shedeur Sanders is really worried, as Browns rookie QB sacrifices camp reps, while Jimmy Haslam's doubts cast a shadow. From the mountaintops of Boulder to the unforgiving practice fields of Berea, the journey of Shedeur Sanders has taken a dramatic and complicated turn. Once the uncontested leader of Colorado football and son of Hall of Famer Deion coach Prime Sanders, Shedeur now finds himself buried at the bottom of a 4-man quarterback competition with the Cleveland Browns. But if that wasn't enough of an uphill battle, a mix of injuries, internal politics, and organizational doubt is now threatening to derail his NFL dreams before they can take off. Day 9 of Browns training camp was supposed to be like any other, intense, competitive, and revealing. Instead, it became a cautionary tale of how fast momentum can disappear. Shedeur Sanders wasn't seen in team drills. The questions began to swirl. The answers didn't come fast, and by the time they did, concerns about Sanders' NFL journey had already multiplied. A sudden absence that sparked speculation. As the media gathered for practice on day 9, whispers started filling the air. Where was Shedeur? Why wasn't he throwing? Was it rest? Rotation? A decision from the coaching staff? The silence was deafening, especially for a rookie quarterback trying to fight his way out of the QB4 slot. Dan Labb of Cleveland.com was one of the first to raise the flag. Brown's back at practice here. Day 9 of training camp, and we'll start with Shedeur Sanders, who did not participate in any team drills today. We were kind of standing there watching. We didn't know what was going on. What followed was an uncomfortable moment of realization. Something was off. Sanders, who had been slowly building momentum with impressive efficiency, was nowhere to be found in key reps. Ashley Bastock added, "When Flacco's out there logging that many team reps, at this point in his career, that's not normal." That's when the whispers turned into certainty. Mary Kay Cabot followed up with the answer everyone dreaded. It's arm soreness. Not 100% certain if it's the shoulder, but it was significant enough for him to mention it. That's telling because these guys know every rep counts. A rookie's nightmare. Missing reps in a 4-man QB race. In an NFL quarterback competition, reps aren't just practice. They're additions. Every throw is a resume builder. Every huddle is a chance to rise. For Shedeur Sanders, those reps are everything. And now, for at least a short while, he's missing them. With Kenny Pickett still sidelined with a hamstring issue, and veteran Joe Flacco and rookie Dillon Gabriel taking over the bulk of the workload, Shedeur's absence becomes even more glaring. Bastock observed it plainly. Suddenly, the 4-man race is down to 2. In a room where nothing is guaranteed, the timing couldn't be worse. Really worried. Shedeur understands the stakes. In a recent conversation with Browns legend Bernie Kosar, Shedeur Sanders opened up about the transition from college to the NFL. Getting reps has been a challenge, a stark contrast to college, Shedeur admitted. In Colorado, I was the guy. Here, I'm just trying to stay in the conversation. It's a sobering self-assessment from a quarterback used to leading huddles, dominating snap counts, and being the focal point of his team's offense. But now, Shedeur is fighting just to be seen. And when a sore arm takes away your chance to make an impression, it doesn't just stall progress, it invites doubt. Insiders have since said that Sanders is really worried, and he should be. This isn't college anymore. The Haslam controversy, a shadow over the rookie. Just as Browns fans began rallying around Shedeur's work ethic and upside, owner Jimmy Haslam reignited a firestorm of criticism with a single comment. When asked about the team's decision to draft Shedeur Sanders, Haslam responded, "That's not happening." The implication: he never wanted to draft Sanders in the first place. And in a franchise already known for its quarterback turmoil, having started 35 different QBs since 2000, that kind of public disavowal felt like both a betrayal and a PR disaster. NFL Hall of Famer Shannon Sharpe didn't hold back. "That's dry snitching," Sharpe said on his podcast. "Why say that? What good does that do the team or the player?" Even Chad Ocho Johnson chimed in, calling Haslam's statement out of pocket and unprecedented. In decades of player turnover, Haslam had never spoken out like this about a draft pick. Until Shedeur. Now, instead of focusing on development, Shedeur must shoulder not just soreness but the weight of organizational doubt. The steep climb from QB4. Let's not forget where Shedeur started this battle. 4th on the quarterback depth chart. He entered camp behind Joe Flacco, the veteran viewed as a temporary placeholder. Kenny Pickett, the former Steelers starter still trying to reclaim form. Dillon Gabriel, a rookie with mobility but inconsistent accuracy. And despite being the 144th overall pick, Shedeur Sanders was outperforming all of them. In fact, until the soreness sidelined him, he was the most efficient quarterback in camp. 6 TDs, 0 INTs. Limited reps, high efficiency. Smooth footwork, elite anticipation. Completion percentage higher than any other QB. On Friday and Saturday, while Gabriel posted a disastrous 3 for 14 with a pick, then 1 for 6, Sanders calmly went 6 of 10 in red zone situations and executed with poise. So when he disappeared from reps on day 9, it wasn't just a body missing, it was momentum lost. Kevin Stefanski's crossroads. Head coach Kevin Stefanski has been walking a tightrope. On the one hand, he must manage expectations, avoid crowning a fifth-round pick too early, and navigate a political quarterback room. On the other, he sees the tape. He knows who's executing. He's working hard, still installing the offense, Stefanski said of Sanders. His coach speak, sure, but fans are growing restless. How long can the developmental label be used as a shield? As ESPN's Dan Orlovsky put it, if I were Cleveland, I would be doing everything I could to have Dillon Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders as my starting quarterback. Injury management or momentum killer. The Browns say Shedeur's soreness isn't serious. No MRI yet, but he will undergo further evaluation. Still, in a room this competitive, even a 2-day absence is massive. The reps he's missing now can't be replaced later. And every throw Gabriel or Flacco makes in his absence counts as a tally mark against him. It's a brutal reality of the NFL. Availability is as important as talent. And for Sanders, the clock is ticking. Can Shedeur still flip the script? Despite the hurdles, depth chart politics, injury, organizational skepticism, Shedeur Sanders still has one card left to play: the preseason. Starting August 8th, the Browns will take the field in their first preseason contest. And if Shedeur is healthy enough to suit up, every snap will be under the microscope. What he does on that field will likely decide whether he climbs to QB2 or ends up as a practice squad stash. Is that critical? The real stakes for Shedeur Sanders, this isn't just about one roster spot. It's about white heavy checkmark proving that his fall in the draft was unjust. White heavy checkmark overcoming a franchise that didn't fully back his selection. White heavy checkmark showcasing that he's more than just Coach Prime's son. White heavy checkmark earning a spot based solely on performance. He's doing it all with one arm currently out of commission, in a QB room with uncertainty, and under the shadow of a team owner who's publicly questioned his place. If he comes out of this battle successful, it will be one of the most impressive rookie quarterback stories of the year. Final thought. From Boulder to Berea, a storm worth weathering? In Boulder, Shedeur Sanders was the heartbeat of a reborn program. In Cleveland, he's trying to prove he belongs. He's not panicking, but the worry is real. The urgency is real. And with every passing day, the odds get longer. But if there's one thing that's always defined Shedeur Sanders, it's that he doesn't care about the odds. He cares about the result. And the next few weeks will decide whether Cleveland sees what he's truly capable of, or lets the best arm on their roster walk away because of politics, pain, and poor timing.